Hello everyone, welcome back to the YouTube channel. My name's Dr. Alex George. I'm here to help build your mental fitness. My life and my lens has changed so much since I quit drinking alcohol, and that's why I'm making so much content on this YouTube channel about alcohol-free living. It's been 2 years since I've had my last drop of alcohol, and it has changed my life. If you've seen that video that I did a little while back talking about, well, the changes that happened in those 2 years since going alcohol-free, you'll understand the magnitude of change it's made in my life. One area in particular that's pretty big, excuse the pun, is the weight loss. I was around 21 stone when I was drinking. Now I'm about 14.5 stone. So I've lost 6-7 stone in that time. That's a colossal amount of weight to lose, and it has literally transformed my life. In this video, we're going to talk about why it's so difficult to lose weight when you're drinking alcohol, some of the science behind that, and the changes that happen when you stop drinking. I'm also going to share with you some results. I've recently done a documentary with Channel 4, Alcohol-Free Booze, Is It Worth It? It's now available to stream and watch, and we looked at loads of different things, how non-alcoholic booze is made, what's in it, is it good for you, but also the effects of drinking and quitting drinking on your health. So check that out. But the test I did there was looking at how my body burns energy, and that's going to be very relevant towards this conversation, as well as talking about my VO2 max. If this sounds of interest, then grab a cup of tea, subscribe to the channel, and enjoy. Let's get started. So let's start at the start. Let's wind back 2 years ago. What was the situation? Well, at the time, I was about 21 stone in weight, in that kind of region, which is pretty heavy. I'm 6'3", 6'4" in height. I think I'm just about 6'4". So, okay, I hid some of the weight, but not that well. You can see from the photographs popping up on screen now that I clearly look very different to what I do at this time. It was really tough. And people go, oh gosh, like how did you get so big? Like, how did that, how did you let that happen, Alex? Because if you look at a lot of pictures of me throughout my 20s, I was pretty fit and healthy. I used to cycle 7 or 8 miles to Lewisham Hospital. I've always been sporting, or always quite enjoyed the gym. And then, yeah, I got to the point 2 years ago where I was that size in weight. And you can wonder, well, how does that happen? Well, the funny thing is that weight creeps up on you. You don't kind of like go to bed one night, wake up and go, hell, I'm 21 stone. You might have a bit of a sudden realization that you've kind of gained so much weight, but generally it's a very gradual thing. And that's what happened. But the big thing for me, and what was clear, is that that weight gain was very heavily associated with drinking alcohol. So after my brother died, I turned to alcohol a lot for grief. Alcohol and food, that's very tied in. We're going to talk about that in this video. Alcohol and food to deal with grief. I worked hard and I drank and ate loads of food. There's something important to mention. I was taking antidepressants at that time. I'm actually back on antidepressants now. I was taking antidepressants at that time. That can affect weight gain, but certainly on its own wouldn't give you anywhere near the amount of weight that I'd gained at that time. It's a compounding effect. So even if you remove the antidepressants and the effect that can have, basically when you take certain antidepressants, it can increase your hunger, like the amount you want to eat. That can have an effect, but if you remove that, I think you'd find a very similar picture. The big problem for me was the booze and the amount of food that I was consuming associated with that alcohol. So yeah, basically what happened is that over a period of a year and a half, my weight just continued to climb and climb and climb. And then I got to that point, I guess, where you do go, oh my gosh, what's happened? Sat down in the chair of my barber's, looked in the mirror and thought, I'm lost. Mentally and physically, I'm completely lost. I didn't recognize myself. I didn't look like me anymore. And I was like, this has to change. But what happened? Like, what was happened scientifically? Well, this is kind of what we discovered when we did the Channel 4 doc, is that alcohol, as I discovered, is something that was understood, but I think not widely understood by the community at large, and certainly something that I knew a little bit about, fine, but not to the extent that I discovered in our kind of research, that our body really does prefer to burn alcohol almost above anything else if it has the opportunity to do so. So I guess what I mean by that is that if you drink a glass of wine and then you go for a run or a cycle, your body will preferentially burn the alcohol before anything else. So if I show you this, so I basically went on a cycling machine, I followed stages of exercise that I needed to do to basically show this kind of curve, this kind of graph. And basically what the graph is showing is that as I exercised for a longer period of time and also the difficulty increased, I started by burning fat, So I was burning fats initially at this point here. But as I was increasing the intensity of exercise and the duration, I was actually burning carbohydrates. So you can see at the start, I was burning some carbs at the start, but that really increased, that's coming out the glycogen stores, which is in your muscle and your liver, but also, whatever I had for lunch was helping in that burning of energy. So that's yellow. So you can see as the intensity of exercise increased in time, you can see the marker. I was burning mostly carbs at that point. Now, I didn't drink alcohol as part of the test. Verity, one of the producers, did. Again, you can watch that on the documentary. Do that after this video, of course. And basically what we found is that rather than burning fats, you burnt the alcohol. So we weren't getting to the carbohydrates because we were burning the alcohol first. And that is exactly what happens when you're drinking. Your body, rather than going to your fat stores or burning, say, for example, the lunch that you'd had, is burning the alcohol. And the problem is with that is it makes it very difficult, first of all, to lose weight, because probably if you're drinking, say, 3 nights a week and you're going to the gym 3 or 4 days a week, you're basically burning the booze. You're not actually getting at the fat stores unless you're really upping your exercise. You're really increasing your exercise. It makes it really hard to lose weight. But also on the converse side, it's very easy then to gain weight, because if you think about it, if the alcohol is basically being burnt when you're exercising and moving, if you're eating more, which is often associated with drinking, think of a Friday night, go to the pub, pint of beer, a couple hundred calories in that beer, then we're going to whack a nice burger down. When you're drinking, you tend to eat more, you don't get full so quickly, and we often make less healthy food choices. Then wake up the next day, I'm hungover, right, I'm going to go and get McDonald's. Do you see what I'm saying? It's a compounding effect. So it's not just the sugar and the alcohol, it's also the food. And it's interesting, if you look at some quantities of sugar within things, so an average pint of lager has about 200 calories in. A large glass of red wine has between 200 and 300 calories in. So if you multiply that into a bottle of red wine, there's something like 600 calories in a bottle. It's so easy to slip into that. So imagine if you had a bottle of red wine, you've got a couple of friends around, you go through a couple of bottles of wine, you have the dinner, all of a sudden the calories really add up. And it's fascinating to me, and something I really thought was interesting from the documentary, that they don't have to, so alcohol companies do not have to show the nutritional information on the back of an alcoholic bottle. But non-alcoholic companies do. So I'm going to show you in a second. Actually, I'm going to go and get a bottle, show you quickly now. I don't actually have, guys, a bottle of alcoholic drink here for kind of obvious reasons, but I'm sure we can flash something up on screen, or you might have to believe me. But if you look at the back of this bottle of Birra Moretti, it actually says all of the things that it contains. So literally everything that goes into the sugar content, it's got the salt content, calories, the binders and everything. If you look on the back of a bottle of red wine, for example, or gin, it won't tell you anything other than the ABV, so the percentage volume. Does that sound right to you? And why would companies not want you to see? I wonder why. So what I can say then, therefore, I think from that early phase, why did Alex find it hard? That's odd to talk in the third person. Why did I find it hard to lose the weight? Well, I guess it's kind of obvious. First of all, my body was trying to burn the alcohol. I was drinking a lot of booze, so I wasn't really getting through that. I wasn't getting to the fat. I was also eating a lot more because of the booze and the comfort eating. So I was putting the weight on from there. But also the effect that alcohol has on your energy levels, your motivation to exercise. The problem was, when I was drinking, I was hungover the next day. Do you think I wanted to go to the gym? And if I did go to the gym, could I work out as hard as if I had a good night's sleep, ate good food, and didn't drink alcohol? So that is why it's so difficult. Now, let's think about what happens, therefore, when you quit the alcohol, you stop drinking. So it was a great experiment in a way for me, because at the time that I stopped drinking, I already started exercising. I was building up my time in the gym. I was doing like lots more walking. I was starting to jog a little bit, although I struggled with the weight I was at, and I didn't lose any weight really. As soon as I stopped drinking, my God, the pounds fell off. It was crazy. And this is replicated across a lot of studies. You look at studies from Dry January, where they look at like participants who quit drinking, okay, so they stopped drinking alcohol, and they exercised, versus people that exercised but still drank alcohol. And they found that they lost about 2 kilograms more. So about 2 kilograms in a month. If you think about how long I've stopped drinking, therefore makes quite a lot of sense how much weight that I've actually lost. So let's talk about what happens then when you stop drinking. Now, some of it might be obvious and go, well, Alex, it's just the reverse, and that's true, but some of it I think is worth considering in terms of the knock-on effect, and I'd like to explain that because I think it's really important for anyone that's going through this process or is thinking about cutting down or quitting drinking for weight loss. So let's go back to this again. So when I stopped drinking, the beauty is I could immediately get straight into the fat, right? So if you're training in the fat burning zone, so generally a slightly lower heart rate zone. So you have different heart rate zones. We're not going to go into that in this video, but effectively you hear this idea of the fat burning zone. It's a lower heart rate that you can maintain for a longer period of time, and effectively at that perfect balance, we burn a lot more fat. You'll still burn fat and you'll burn a lot of calories if you're pushing and pushing and pushing, but there's an effective zone. So anyway, it's probably beyond what we're talking about today. The point is that we can get straight into this. So when I quit drinking, it meant I get straight into burning the fat, right? And that's obviously really beneficial. It means when I'm exercising, it's helping me to lose the weight, so long as, of course, the energy balance of calories in and calories out are in a negative balance. We need to have less calories consumed than we burn each day. Okay, the story is a little bit bigger than perhaps the picture I've shared. I think that's actually pretty cool, and that's cool science, and I really like the test. So, you go on the bicycle. So Verity went on the bicycle to get a baseline, and then went on the bicycle after a glass of wine, and that's how we kind of were able to kind of show or discover this fact. But in terms of weight loss, it is more than that. I really believe that one of the biggest challenges when you're drinking, and the biggest revelations when you're not drinking, is also your ability to commit and stick to your plan. So when you're drinking, it's really hard to keep up your promises, whether that's meeting someone and put something in the diary, oh gosh, I'm too hungover, I don't want to go. Exercise is even harder because it requires motivation, a lot of discipline. There's so much more to it though than this kind of body burns alcohol first. That is really important, but I want to talk a little bit beyond that. Okay, so I think there's a compounding effect, and this is the human experience of what I went through. So when I stopped drinking, all of a sudden going to the gym wasn't a chore. I kind of could go to the gym with minimal discipline, or at least a lot less kind of dragging myself out. It was easier to go. When I went, I definitely exercised harder, but also I slept better, I slept for longer, and I had better restful sleep after a while. And we know that you burn a lot of calories when you sleep. So it's really good and important to have a good night's sleep. Also, when I'm not consuming alcohol and I'm putting instead calories that are healthy and good into my body, I could grow my muscles. The more muscle you have, the more calories you burn. I'm leaner at the moment because I'm training for a marathon, but I still, I have quite a lot of muscle, I'm strong. But certainly when I've been even bigger, my muscles as a baseline are going to burn a lot of calories. Look at The Rock, for example. He's a big chap. He's burning calories just by existing. So there is also the element that if you're not consuming alcohol, your body's then able to build muscle a lot more effectively. Your hormonal balance is better, so you can build the muscle, build the strength. You're just going to burn more calories. And then the knock-on effect is when you go to the gym, you can train harder, longer, faster, and so on. And what happens over time, so at the start of weight loss, it's a lot easier. When you're kind of 20 plus stone or whatever weight it is, the weight just drops off really, really easily. You don't have to do that much exercise. As you get down further, the weight gets lower and lower. It is more difficult, but there is a compounding effect that starts to come in at that point that's really helpful, and that is the fact that you become really fit and you're able to exercise for ages. I'm going to show you something now which I think brings this to life. So when I started the weight loss journey, when I stopped drinking, I could barely run 0.5k. Now, last year I run 4 half marathons and I did a PB of 1 hour 45 and a half, which is not groundbreaking in any sense. The people that absolutely smashed me on that, but I'm really proud of it, and for me that's a really good result, and from where I was, that's an amazing result. And I'd like to show you this because it's not all about weight, it's about your health. If you've heard of this before, and many of you will have, is VO2 max testing. So VO2 max testing is effectively looking at how efficiently your body can utilize and use oxygen. What is your maximal effort? How good is your aerobic fitness, effectively, is what we're testing. So on the bike, they basically built up the difficulty, and actually, because I was doing quite well, they ramped it right up quite fast to kind of get me to my VO2 max because we're running out of filming time. So what you can see here, the blue line is my heart rate, which was nice and steady, even though we were building up the difficulty, which apparently means I'm pretty fit. You've got other measurements here, but effectively the green line is your VO2. And you can see that spikes right there. So that's what I've gone to, maximal effort. Interestingly, I didn't quite, I got 5% off my actual VO2 because the clip came off on the bike and I had a bit more to go, but then I just couldn't do it. But anyway, the point was, it shows it here, and they said that my extrapolated VO2 would have been like nearly 60, and I achieved, I think, like 53 or something on this, which I'm really proud about. If I flick this over, it says that fitness level, you got very low, low, fair, good, excellent, superior. Mine was superior, which I'm really happy about. And for context, if I hit, where's the VO2 thing? So it says that I achieved 52 here, but my extrapolated VO2, so what I could have hit or would have got to is 59. And for context, that's kind of getting towards athlete level or pro athlete. Apparently amateur athlete is anything like 55, 60, 60 above, you go into pro athlete. I'm really proud about that. And I hope it gives people at home a bit of motivation, not just about the weight loss, because great, it's losing weight, whatever, but actually like it's all about your health and fitness and all this stuff. And I probably should have said it earlier in the video, by the way, I didn't measure my weight as I was losing weight. I actually only really know that I was like 21 stone because I had to do some weight measurements for my ADHD meds and assessment, which by the way I only used sporadically at the time, but they weighed me. And then I only knew then the lowest level because again, I was getting weighed for a different medication that I was going to go on. In the meantime, I didn't measure calories. I didn't calorie count at all. And that's the absolute truth. I've calorie counted in the past. I didn't for this at all. And I didn't weigh myself. All I did was focus on the fact that I knew that if I moved each day, I didn't drink alcohol, I had a very colourful plate of food and I looked at fat, protein, carbohydrates, lots of nutrients and lots of water, I knew I was going to be good. And the fitter I got, the more I burned and so on. So the point I'm making here is that because my VO2 max is very high and I'm fit or whatever, it means I can burn loads of calories. So I think it said here that I would be able to burn calories per hour would be over 1,300 calories an hour based on what they were doing. So that means that basically if I wanted to, I could go out and churn like over 1,000 calories on a run. Makes it easier to keep the weight off, doesn't it? Okay, I think we've covered a lot there about weight. We're going to go on to some tips and advice that I have about cutting down and what you can do with replacing non-alcoholic drinks. And perhaps we'll talk about a few non-alcoholic options. So let's do that now. Right, I'm going to give you 3 tips to help you with cutting down or quitting the alcohol this week that will be beneficial towards the weight gain. I might chuck in a bonus 1 or 2 at the end. The first one I want to start with, given we've been talking about calories, and by the way, I'm not sponsored by, I've got loads of different bottles of beer in there and obviously non-alcoholic beer, and I've just grabbed this one, it's the nearest one to me. Others are available, this is not a sponsored episode. So if I look at this and I find the calories in it, so where are we? Where are you calories? So much, okay, calories. So this is a 330ml bottle of non-alcoholic beer and there's just over 60 calories in this total bottle. Okay, so that's not a lot of calories. Also worth thinking about that the sugar that's in this is from your malts. It's what's left over, right, from the kind of fermentation process. They take the alcohol out and this is what's left. That is not the same stuff as like in a cola, for example, which is full of that kind of really bad sugar that knackers your teeth. It's a different kind of sugar as well. So that's worth noting. Half the calories of a normal bottle of beer. I mean, that's a significant difference. Of course, a calorie is a calorie, it's just a unit of measure, but it's worth thinking about where do those calories come from? What kind of sugar do they come from? In your colas, you've got the sugar that knackers your teeth. So really worth thinking about swapping out and having non-alcoholic drinks. I would say, though, I have a bit of a warning that some of these non-alcoholic drinks are actually quite calorific. So it's really worth checking the back of the bottle. If you don't check the nutrition information, if you're just having a drink, you're not worried about calories. I'm talking in the context of wanting to know. If you want to know, I'd check the back because some of them are really sugary. So I think particularly some of the wines, for example, fill it full of sugar because, well, what else do you put in the wine? It's not that easy to make a nice one. We might actually be able to test one soon, Suze. We might have a bottle of wine that apparently is quite good that we'll try and we'll let you know if it's good. But yeah, be careful. Watch the back of those bottles. Second tip, make sure that you plan ahead. If you're going to a house party or an event, take your own drinks. It means you don't have to get offered drinks. You've got them there, okay? That's an obvious tip. Third tip is to remember the why. You know, when you're going through, especially say weight loss, quitting drinking anyway, all this kind of stuff, it's not easy. It's not an easy process to go through. Just remember your why. You know, often you'll be entering a calorie deficit. Certainly I was in quite a calorie deficit when I stopped drinking. That can make us feel a bit funny. So just bear in mind and remember the why. It'll help you get through. My bonus tip is this. All movement is good. All movement's good. I think sometimes we focus on, when we're losing weight, right, we're going to start losing weight or stop drinking, we're going to go to the gym, smash out 10 runs. Don't do that. Don't do that, it's ridiculous. First of all, when you're very heavy, so like 20, 21 stone, it's not great for your body actually to go out and instantly start running on your knees. First of all, you should probably just start with doing fast-paced walks, getting out, getting loads of walking done, get on the treadmill, for example, low impact, such as swimming. I did a lot of swimming when I was first overweight. That, in fact, I'd say most of my aerobic training came from swimming because it meant that I wasn't putting weight on my joints. So start slow, build up. I can do lots of exercise now, but it's taken me 2 years to do that. It's also much more enjoyable when you take it easy. Right guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I've really enjoyed it. There's been a lot of science in this. I've kind of shared some of my own personal stats and these things. Guys, I also want to say a huge thank you for all the comments on the videos. Honestly, it really, I'm going to send them to you, Suze, don't I, to kind of have a look at, because as a team, it really inspires us to see you guys supporting each other, sharing your stories. I also, when I read the comments, like we pull advice and tips that we use in the videos, because I can talk about a bit of the science I know. I don't know everything, far from it. I also can talk about my own experience, but you guys have got loads of experience as well. So support each other, get in those comments, it's great to see. Of course, and finally, please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and tell people about it. Send the videos to a family member that's sober curious or interested in this kind of stuff, because we want to help people. Okay, we'll end it there. We'll see you again in the next one. Take care and goodbye.